Welcome everyone to this quick chat. Today we're recognizing this year's Fender Bender and ABRN Best Repair Planner and Estimator Award winner, Will Barkley. Will is the production manager of K&M Collision in Hickory, North Carolina. Welcome, Will.
Thanks for having me.
Today we're going to talk about the importance of repair procedures and safe and proper repairs. This is the second year for the award, which allows us to recognize those individuals who perform at a higher level in capturing all required repair procedures, including scanning and calibrations. As was the case last year, it was difficult for our panel to select finalists from the nominations, and the final estimate exercise, designed and judged by Mike Anderson, who joins us today, and his staff at Collision Advice. Also joining us today are our sponsors for this year's award, Andrew McInnes, who's the U.S. Collision and Brand Protection Manager of Ford Motor Company, and Tom Wolf, Director of Strategic Accounts and OEM After Sales at PPG Automotive Refinish. Welcome. Mike, you were telling me just how tight the competition was this year. Can you describe how your team devised the estimate exercise and what made the competition so close this year?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. And first of all, congratulations to you, Will. Well deserved, well deserved. And last year there was pretty much really one clear-cut winner. This year, though, I have to tell you, Jay, as you know, we were delayed in giving you and telling you who the winner was by 2 weeks because we had three just amazing candidates, and as well as estimates that were submitted or repair plans, whatever term you want to use. And so, when we go through and the team at Collision Advice, myself, Danny, Steve, and Jeff, we basically developed a scorecard. And the first thing we looked at was, did they capture all the operations that were required to do a safe and proper repair on that vehicle? And we paid a lot of attention, and we kind of gave a lot of merit and credit to those things that we felt that dictated or had to do with a safe and proper repair. For example, all the candidates might have had, for example, like denib or color stain and buff on an estimate or wet stain and buff. But if they didn't have that, that wouldn't necessarily like kill somebody if they didn't do that. So we were really focused on the things that were critical to a safe and proper repair. Things like procedures required when the battery was disconnected and reconnected, setting up and performing destructive test welds, safety inspections, ADAS calibrations, and things of that nature. So the first primary, the most heavily weighted aspect of the contest was to judge on did the contestant actually take and identify the safety items that were required for safe and proper repair. The next thing we looked at was the not included operations. So like how knowledgeable were they for operations that were not included? Things like adjacent panel damage, second color setup, masking jams and openings, masking OEM texture or appearance for seam sealer. The third thing we looked at was their ability to really communicate the reasons why they were doing what they were doing through the utilization of line notes. So again, there were a lot of things that we really took into consideration this year in regards to judging. And I have to tell you again, it was, while we had a lot of great contestants, there were three that just really stood out. And honestly, they were just all exceptional. And to anybody that submitted, and participated in this year's contest, I would encourage you to definitely go back and apply again next year and submit another estimate if you didn't win this year, because it was really literally like we score things. We have a score sheet that we use, and the difference between the first, second, and third place winners was literally less than 1.5 points. It was really so a testament to Will, right? Like he won by like a hair, right? But well deserved. So I hope that provides some insights in regards to how we kind of viewed and scored the applicants.
And Mike, we wouldn't have been able to do the contest without you. I was so glad that the partnership worked out last year when we first approached you about it, because when we were coming up with this award, there was a group of three of us, and we all kind of had some input into it, and it was kind of my idea to come up with this second part of the contest. I said, well, we need to have some kind of a practical way to judge them, but that is beyond the scope of what I do. And luckily we came to you and you said, well, yeah, that's similar to what we're already doing with our with the people that we coach. Yeah, so it worked out great. I next want to welcome Andrew McInnes. And Andrew, you're the U.S. Collision and Brand Protection Manager at Ford Motor Company and one of the sponsors for this year's award. Could you talk to us about what measures that Ford is taking to help encourage that repairers follow OEM repair procedures, and then also part of that is stressing the OEM glass and what its role is. I know it wasn't that long ago that we were still educating the general public on what like rollover protection and things like that, that for what a glued-in windshield actually provides some structural strength, and now we've got all these other considerations such as ADAS and others. But can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, Jay. It was a pleasure to be here. And Will, congratulations and thank you for your dedication to that proper and safe repair. Before I jump into it, though, Jay, I'd like to talk a little bit about our philosophy when it comes to collision repair. And our philosophy puts our customers at the center of and drives our collision repair strategy. It's really dedicated to providing our owners with quality collision repairs utilizing OE repair procedures and parts. First, we want to make sure our customer knows their voice matters when it comes to getting their vehicle repaired, and it's important for them to understand why choosing a shop that follows our factory repair procedures and uses those original equipment parts makes a really big difference. We have information about that on collision.ford.com, which is aimed at informing consumers about their rights in collision repair. This information is also available in both our Ford Pass and Lincoln Way apps. But when it comes to making that proper repair, we take kind of a whole industry approach. Our workshop manuals contain in-depth instructions for collision diagnosis, repair, and part replacement. And we've taken that further by including additional sections for collision repair procedures, including 3D graphics, as well as detailed information on sectioning, corrosion protection, sealing, scanning, calibrations, and paint, along with all of Ford's official position statements. Technicians can access these official procedures through platforms like motorcraftservice.com and fordserviceinfo.com. We also have another site, fordcrashparts.com, which is dedicated to providing information tailored specifically to the collision repair industry, including technical documents, repair information, videos, as well as position statements. This is one of the places we also publish our quarterly On Target newsletter, where we highlight any new repair procedures and technical information needed to deliver efficient and high-quality repairs on our Ford and Lincoln vehicles. We also work cooperatively with lots of industry technology solutions like Repair Logic to make it easy for shops to quickly identify that exact repair requirement, procedures and parts, including ADAS calibration requirements and repairs for Ford. Finally, our 3,000 plus shops, Ford Certified Collision Network shops, set the standard. We openly publish our requirements to become a certified shop on our enrollment site, ford.com/Ford Certified Collision Network, where our minimum training requirements is ICAR Gold class, and that's also the industry benchmark. These are just some of the ways we demonstrate that dedication to our consumers and their safety when it comes to collision repair. From our customer-centric philosophy, prioritizing quality OE repairs and parts, to providing those comprehensive, easily accessible repair procedures. Every step of our strategy is dedicated to ensure our customers' vehicles are returned to their pre-accident condition with a proper and safe repair.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll come back to you probably on some follow-up questions here. Tom, I want to talk with you. You and I had a nice discussion about a year ago for the audio podcast, the Collision Cast. This is kind of the same topic here. We talked about the importance of refinishes on ADAS as it relates to typically, I guess, the blind spot monitor behind the bumper cover, and how not only do you have to be careful about what repairs you do and what proximity to that, but now we're concerned about certain formulas or certain paint codes, I guess I should say paint codes, certain types of finishes are going to affect that radar. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. And Will, it's getting a lot here, but congratulations. What a great honor. I look at your job as really safeguarding the family that brought that vehicle into you to repair it correctly and put them back on the road. So you're really a steward of lives, really, when you start to look and think about how people need to approach that. And Mike, your comment is kind of refreshing that it was a hard fought competition this year. It tells me that the industry, I don't want to say is waking up, but because of the complexities of the environment of the build of the car, the substrates, the computerization, the ADAS equipment, all that good stuff, people are paying attention and trying to do the right thing. Now having said that, what Jay was referring to last year when we had that discussion, PPG does a lot by way of information. Obviously, as a top paint company, we're in a lot of shops, our folks, and the information that we come across is not just the bookwork. We can get the bookwork with our relationship at iCar as a sustaining partner there. We have access to their RTS site, which allows our folks to go in and study and look at different things, whether it's a bumper cover or a structural repair. We actually have access, our folks have access to that. And then the transference of that information. That's not the only stop though that they get information. They actually get information from people like Will. When they go into the shops and they talk and they look at stuff, it's not just about a clear coat or a base coat. That conversation, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that way? We get educated through that visit, if you will, and then we transfer that information maybe at the next stop or the next shop that we may go to and see a very similar repair being happening. What Jay was referencing, I tell our folks, we working in the paint shop myself many moons ago, we used to have that little tape ball fight that goes on back there, and we don't want to be that company that walks past that taint ball and doesn't put it in the garbage, right? We want to be that company that walks past that bumper and watch that repair and question the technician or even go back into the production office and say, in a polite way, we noticed that he's putting filler or she's putting filler on that bumper cover. According to this document or this research that we know, you probably should think about that a little bit and bring that forward. We don't want to be that company that walks by, sees an unsafe repair, and we had the opportunity to help our customers and people like Ford Motor Company and the like. So really, it's about access to information, comprehension of the information, transference to technicians, shops, people like Will, where we can learn a lot from Will, by the way. Collaboration with Ford Motor Company and other OEMs. Obviously, some of the other parties out there, it was mentioned to iCar, our sustaining partners relationship. And then through all that, you get a commitment to safe OEM approved repairs.
Thanks, Tom. Will, I wonder if you could talk to some of our viewers about what some of the tips that you could recommend. If I'm a repair planner and I'm wanting to get to the next level, and obviously it's going to vary by what level where I am, right? But if I'm wanting to improve, any idea where the typical repair planner should begin, or what's your favorite tip to give others?
I would say, as organized as you can have your technicians, from start to finish, will help you in a way that you can put together an estimate or a repair plan that will reflect, what's being done to the vehicle. I would also say that continuing training, going to like a Mike Anderson event, things like that, OEM training, referencing what he's speaking about refinish documents, knowing where to put, radar transparent paints, being able to view that stuff, retain it, go back to it continuously, job after job.
So it's that commitment to that then.
Very much.
Mike, what about what do you see or what does your team see where most estimators or repair planners, blueprinters can improve their skills?
I think that really the first place we have to start at is with the owner or the manager of the shop. Like, I feel like they have to give the estimator slash repair planner time to write an accurate estimate and time to go to like Ford's, website and through OEM1stop.com and have the time. So I think the owner manager, if they want to have a successful repair planner such as Will, that they've got to give them enough time in order to write a proper repair plan. So I think that's number one. They have to have time. Number two, I think as to be a successful repair planner, you also have to be very inquisitive. Like, you have to have that desire to always want to go into every single little document that's in. I'm going to use Ford as an example. Ford's OEM repair procedures or electronic service manual, and just look for those little nuances that may be required. I think you have to think outside the box as well. Like, I'll give you an example. There was a shop that was writing an estimate to replace a rocker panel, and there was not a sectioning procedure on the rocker. But if you went to the doorpost section, there was a sectioning procedure because it showed for the rocker, but it was under the doorpost. So you have to think about those little nuances. I think obviously, I can tell you and I'm older, but I remember the first time I saw somebody using dual monitors to write an estimate or repair plan. I was like, wow. And now I see repair planners using, 3 or 4 monitors now, right? So they'll have, their estimating system up on one, they'll have their OM repair procedures up on another screen, and then they may have, photos of the vehicle or the electronic parts catalog up on another screen. So I think, using multiple, monitors. I think the other thing too is understanding some of the resources are available to you to capture not included operations, right? Whether it's the SCRS bot tool or just understanding how to navigate the H nodes or utilizing like predefined line notes and CCC. But embracing technology. One of the things that was very exciting for me is that we know, like, for example, with CCC, they moved to CCC Web, and this is not an endorsement of CCC, it's just stating a fact, right? They moved to CCC Web, and generally we see that our industry kind of fights technology advancements or new features, but 50% of the estimates that were submitted were written through CCC Web versus CCC Desktop. So I think, just to be open to new technologies as well.
Andrew, I wonder, could we talk a little bit about the differences between OEM and aftermarket glass, why that's important, and maybe even how to describe the difference or explain the difference to both the customer and the insurer, and talk a little bit about the benefits of Ford's certified glass network.
Sure. It's a great question. So we firmly believe that using the original equipment glass is crucial for several reasons, primarily concerning vehicle safety and performance. Our glass is specifically designed and engineered and tested to be an integral part of the vehicle's overall safety and performance. The windshield is a structural component that helps distribute crash energy, contributes to the vehicle's overall crash worthiness. OEM glass is designed to maintain the structural integrity and ensure occupant safety. Also, today's modern vehicles rely heavily on ADAS features such as lane keeping assist, pre-collision assistance. And these often use cameras and sensors that are integrated into the windshield. OEM glass is the only way to ensure the precise fit, optical clarity, and correct placement of these components, allowing those ADAS systems to function accurately and effectively. Our Ford certified glass network shops receive access to our technical support, calibration training, marketing resources, and consumer-facing locator services. The program aims to empower installers with the knowledge and tools for OE glass replacement.
Thanks, Andrew. Tom, we talked a little bit about talked more than a little bit. We talked quite a bit about the importance of proper repairs on these bumpers. Can we talk a little bit about some of the work that PPG is doing on the formulas for these, some of the challenges that are presented now because they have some of these, particularly the fine aluminum finishes. I think, just broadly speaking, those are the ones that are giving trouble. And PPG has done some work with some other formulas to make sure that there's a refinish formula available that's going to play nicely with those ADAS features.
Yeah, great question. And I think that goes to the relationship we have with the OEMs at that central hub with each OEM to understand what technology they're using, whether it's LiDAR, radar, cameras, whatever technology they're using and enhancing their ADAS equipment with. And then, the color stylist from the color from the factory floor to duplicate that color into the refinished material can be a challenging endeavor. So paying attention, and I think this goes to Will and his talent, paying attention to position statements and understanding from the OEMs which paints are authorized to be applied over different technologies, even down to what you just suggested, down to the specific color formula. And so working hand in glove with our R&D folks in that system, if you will, in that little ecosystem chain between the OEM, color stylist, technician, and chemist, if you will, we come up with those formulas, and we strive to be able to match those in a safe and reliable, approved method. It's not easy, Jay, quite frankly, because of the different technologies, and it takes quite an investment. You can imagine, to be able to chase down some of those colors and get to a match that we can all be proud of. When Will delivers a car, he doesn't want to have to explain to customer, why the bumper color or whatever is off just a fraction or whatever. So we strive ourselves to get to that match in a safe and approved method.
And Tom, to your point, it's we don't want to lay all the burden on the painter himself or herself for this, right? It starts at the front when we're doing the repair planning for this vehicle to see if this is some kind of a special color, and where should we go from there? Is the repair planner are we supposed to be going checking the paint computer, or?
Yeah, that's a great call out. So our paint computer, it flashes up if we have a special pigment that goes in to be able to achieve that match for that color. It will flash that up, that you'll need that toner. I'd like to see more activity from some of our information providers to be able to flash that same type of activity and get to that granular information, so that people like Will, when he's writing that repair plan, he can see it immediately. He doesn't have to transfer that information word of mouth from a painter that pulls up the formula to find that information out. I'd love to have that way up front in the repair process. But I think that Will and folks like Will go that extra step and try to figure that out immediately. And then again, it's repetition. If that car comes in with that, or the same color on another model or the same model, he or she will already know that there's something in that formula that we've got to pay attention to.
Will, is there anything that you think about that keeps you up at night, technology wise or industry wise? Like, what kind of changes you think we'll see for your type of role in the next year or two?
I think that it, daily, monthly, it changes. So you really, keep me up at night. I like to sleep. So I tend not to try to stay up at night, but I do, things do come across my mind, and, think about that. But, I think in, 5 years, if you're not actively researching, continuing, what you're learning, within 3 years, that stuff is going to completely change. So I think, being committed to putting the time in, like Mike said, having the time to spend to then research a new car. We work on a lot of new year model vehicles. So it's always a constant, what's changed. So we've got to educate ourselves to be able to educate our guys.
Mike, what do you and your team see coming down the pike in the next year or two for people in this role?
I think what's most concerned to me is I think there has to be a balance between embracing technology, but also not becoming solely dependent on it, kind of a
Mm.
trust but verify mentality. It's kind of like, obviously, computers or spell check or calculators are great tools to have, but it doesn't mean you still don't know how to spell or do math, right? And I think while there's a lot of technology that's coming out that helps us to, like, hypothetically identify not included operations or identify when an ADAS calibration is needed, that we just can't become lazy and solely dependent on those technologies. We still got to know, we got to, again, kind of trust but verify, and just, still know, like, what's included, what's not included, what do I need to go research, how to identify one-time use parts. So I think it's finding that balance. The second thing that I would say, that, because there would be probably another thing, is just the lack of industry awareness regarding safety inspections. Almost every OEM that I'm aware of requires that some type of safety inspection needs to be performed when a vehicle's in a collision, whether it's a steering column measurement or a steering gear inspection or SRS or seat belts. And we tend to see that's left off of the repair plans quite often. And, shops can always say, well, a third party repair won't pay me for that, but that doesn't remove you from the liability. I really like what Tom said. I don't remember his exact verbiage, but I was like, man, I got to remember that, Tom. But he was talking about, like, Will's or an estimator's job is to safeguard that, vehicle. I don't remember the exact terminology, but, I think we have an obligation to that, right? That the consumer, when they sign that authorization form, they're saying, hey, I trust you to put my vehicle back to keep my family safe. And I think that we have to have a moral and ethical obligation on that. So I think it's like we just can't become so dependent on technology that we still don't want to put the work in and learn all the nuances.
Tom, could you tell us a little bit about some of the courses that are available through PPG's MVP Business Solutions for repair planning and estimating?
Yeah, absolutely. So through our MVP Business Solutions team, we provide to the shops and organizations, especially the MSOs, take advantage of some of the courseware that we have. It's not just about refinishing products, if you will.
Right.
It's purely one component. Some of the other some of the other trainings that we conduct, production training, estimator training, a lot of different curriculum that goes into that. That, again, is ICAR certified, so the techs can earn some points on the backside to help their path to be ICAR gold and those types of levels, if you will. But it's about repair planning, process efficiency, and compliance with the OEM standards. So I encourage our customers and other customers to take a look at our course, where it's a little bit of an infomercial, Jay, but it's at ppgmvp.com.
Yeah, so Jay, I got to tell you, because I just want to give a big shout out to Ford while they're on this call and for sponsoring this year's winner. But, like, if you're a repair planner slash estimator, go to www.oemonestop.com and you can actually download a publication that Ford provides, which is called On Target. And I got to tell you, I think it's published quarterly. And I got to tell you, I love that document. It's got great information in there. As a repair planner, you want to review that. Also take and, download it and share it with your team. I mean, just shout out to Ford, because they're one of the very few OEMs that provide that. The other thing too is, as a repair planner, Ford, again, is just one of the very few OEMs that actually have a symbol for one-time use parts in their
Oh,
electronic service manual. And they use a symbol of a trash can. And I got to, again, there's other OEMs that, like Toyota has a black dot, Nissan has a black dot with a white X. And so there are some other OEMs, but, again, Ford's got a very prominent symbol of a trash can. So when you're in those electronic service manuals through Ford, you're like, hey, that part needs to be replaced, because they're not always in the database. So I just want to recognize Ford for some of the amazing resources they make available to our industry.
Thank you, and we really appreciate it. The team definitely works really hard to make sure that providing that proper and safe repair is as easy as possible for the technicians, the estimators, and the planners. It all comes together to make sure that vehicles, like it was before it was involved in the incident.
Yeah, thanks so much for what you do. And Tom, a real quick question for you, if I may, for PPG. Do you all provide a list that estimators can download from your mixing computer that would help estimators to know which colors may be 3-stage, 4-stage, or have limited use toners? And if so, how would an estimator access that through your through PPG?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. Yes, we absolutely do provide those listings. You'd have to go to the computer and pull up the OEM manufacturer, and then those special use toner colors will come up. If Will's interested, I'll take him through it live. I'll get some folks out there, and we'll do that. Make sure Will can be in the running for a back-to-back award next year.
Amen.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining the call today, and thank you to our viewers. Especially want to recognize our sponsors this year, Ford Motor Company and PPG Automotive Refinish, and Mike Anderson, you and your team at Collision Advice for making this so possible. Will, look forward to meeting you in person in Vegas, and anybody else on the call or in the audience that look forward to meeting you there too. Where we'll recognize Will at the Red Carpet Industry Awards night, Tuesday out there. So everybody, thanks again.
Congratulations, Will.
Congrats, Will. Well
Thank you.
deserved.